I'm Teresa Bliss. I'm an educational psychologist and an author. I also have 3 children, which have been very helpful in terms of my professional career. They have taught me a lot that books haven't taught me. My 3 children have actually all had special needs, so I've needed to be part of the system where I've had to fight for resources for my own children. So I do understand the difficulties that many parents face. As an educational psychologist, I get to see a range of difficulties that children are facing. I see children from as young as around 3, right through to adulthood. In fact, I saw a man who was 62 the other day who wanted to have an assessment because he just felt there was more he could get out of life. So a whole range of adults and children, but it's mainly children. I mainly see children of school age who are not managing or succeeding in school as well as their parents think they should, and they bring them to me for an assessment to just see if there's an underlying difficulty, and actually there quite often is. So an assessment can help just unpick what's going on. Why is a child not reading or writing or learning to spell as well as their parents think they should, or you would think they could just by their verbal abilities. I trained as a teacher. I started work in London. I then became interested in children with behaviour difficulties, so I specialised then in working in units for children who were either excluded or about to be excluded, and I worked for them with those children for a number of years, running units in Reading and Gloucestershire. I then decided I wanted to train as an educational psychologist, which I did, and now I'm working as an independent educational psychologist, having worked with local authorities for a number of years. Another common difficulty for children with behaviour difficulties is understanding language. Research has consistently shown that children who end up excluded or in provision for children with behaviour difficulties is, in fact, their understanding of language is very poor. So that is something I always look at when I see children who are presenting with behaviour difficulties. Working with children with behaviour difficulties, I used to work with the families as well as the child. And through ensuring that their academic skills were good enough for them to survive in the classroom and bringing their behaviour back on track by being firm and giving them very clear boundaries, I used to manage to get 86% of the children back into mainstream school, where they continued their scholastic careers successfully. That actually is a very high statistic. It's usually around about 30% of children that go back into school once they've been excluded. Something else that I've been interested in working with children with behaviour difficulties is actually trying to prevent them from leaving the classroom, from being excluded, trying to help children remain in mainstream setting. And I wrote one of the first Circle Time books to be published in the UK, which was extremely successful. And for many years I trained teachers in the technique called Circle Time. Circle Time is a way of working with children where they all sit in a circle, which is why it's called Circle Time, but they learn to talk about themselves and their feelings. They learn about themselves and one another, and that helps improve relationships in the classroom. This is something that teachers were enthusiastic about because they found it was very productive in terms of improving behaviour in classrooms. Particular interests for me are children with learning difficulties such as dyslexia and dyspraxia. I would say those are the 2 major groups that I see, probably because dyslexia is such a big difficulty for children in this country. Learning to read and spell in the English language is the most difficult language, and that was proved quite recently in a pan-European study. Another particular area of interest is bullying. I became interested in bullying because 2 of my own children were bullied, and I was fortunate enough to be in a position where I could research bullying. And now the government have shown a great deal of interest over the last decade or so, and it is in fact part of the Ofsted inspection. And recently I set up a company with a colleague, an anti-bullying quality mark, where we support schools in their strategies and policies for their anti-bullying work. It is extremely rewarding to assess a child and to unpick what's been happening for them, and then to be able to advise the school on strategies that they can use to help develop a child and to help them improve their reading and spelling, and to help the child feel more successful in school.